Okay, so a little more on the peace and tranquility issue for all of your children. Um, I don't know where we left off, but here's the thing. We've got a condition that we have going on in our homes. Either when you walk in there, you sense peace and rest and well being, calmness, or we are spirit beings, you know, or we sense that something's not quite how it should be. Children are also spirit beings, and trust me, they know. So something like mama and daddy fighting, arguing, being in disagreement, um, not being at rest in things, boy, the kids can pick up on that stuff. Um, there's just a lot of things, but in any case, the kids always know, and then they start to act out what the atmosphere is giving them. So we want to promote a peaceful atmosphere. We go a lot of places, but hey, you shouldn't be watching horror movies in the house at all, let alone with the children there. We could go a lot of places with what you should not be putting into your household environment, certainly not with the children there. And I'm not a prude. I think, you know, mature levels of what we think of as entertainment can include real life stuff to a certain extent. But let's just say too much violence, this proliferation of violence, of literal, you know, depictions of bloodshed on the screen, and a million things like that. A million things like that would be unhealthy. And then all the way down to if, you know, the little kid has a little bit bigger kid that keeps beating him up, pushing him around, physically being abusive when you're not looking, that's not going to produce any peace and rest in the little kid that's getting bullied. So a lot of areas you need to be looking out for that.
Yeah. And, you know, in that you're like, well, I want to do what I want to do. I want to have that movie, or I want to do this, or there's something about being a parent. You don't get to do what you want to do. You need to think what's important for that child. Really, this is about the most important thing you've got going on in your life right now, is raising that child. Um, Children are a blessing and a heritage of the Lord. God, He wanted that child, and so He wants you to pay attention to what your job is in parenting that child. And so it's not a minor thing making the right environment for this child to grow up in and to be trained in. And so you may have to train yourself that, you know, some things I'd like to do, I'm not going to do, so that I can do the right thing by my child.
So self-control was mentioned somewhere here, and at least one or so of these videos back, we talked about the parent really needing to offer examples through their own lifestyle of how the child might want to respond to things. So if we get angry and we get ruffled over every little thing, what are we teaching our children to do? Put it another way, if we lose our peace on account of virtually nothing, then we're really training that child to lose their peace, and to express that verbally. Now, another concept that hasn't really been touched on, we probably should, is this the fact that a soulish outburst of emotion, besides the infant crying, when we get a little bit bigger than you got toddlers crying or yelling or carrying on. And our culture right now has said, well, that child should have the autonomy to express him or herself. In fact, they're trying to get them to express themselves in terms of gender choices and every other ridiculous, crazy thing. But this kind of started with, we'll just give that child individual autonomy to express their emotions, to do what they want to do. And usually that turned into chaos right away. So they're taking away the peace of your home, if you've been modeling that, by allowing, if you then allow them to act crazy and to yell, scream, throw fits, stomp, kick, rebel against your wishes if you give them verbal directives or otherwise, certainly to yell back at you. Or if you ever dare to let them say, I hate you, mommy, or I hate you, daddy, Lord have mercy. That I can't even tell you how that would have worked out in my house. I mean, with me and my parents. Well, probably the same way with me and my kids. But I could have wound up on the other side of the room in a hurry if I'd have pulled that stunt. But you see, parents have gotten so wimpy that they're trying to let that kid basically generate chaos, and they don't seem compelled to protect the peace, their own peace, or the peace in their home. So wow, I'm kind of lost my cool here because it exacerbates and accelerates so rapidly if we don't expect that child to exercise self-control and enforce that they do so.
One of the things you said there, chaos. Chaos is not good. In the old movies, chaos was the bad guys.
Gets more, yeah.
Yeah. And so the child left to himself is not going to generate peace generally. And so you need to train, to model, to give them a plan, not a choice. Their choice is be wild and crazy. Your plan is here's how you're going to behave yourself. And ultimately, they're going to be happier in a peaceful situation and having peace in their own heart. They're going to finally recognize that's something to be sought after. The kids that I call them feral kids, just nothing but wild, have no idea what that is. And if you can give them even a touch of that, they're hungry for it.
I'm sure they desire some sense of peace and control.